is in a way it's like a Pilgrim's Progress, but on the streets of New York. So it's a spiritual journey into the soul, and but this was quite a tough world that is feeding the imagery and the starting point. So one of the influences on me was a film called El Topo by Alejandro Jodorowsky, who I invited later to work on the screenplay for The Lamb with me. And this was a rough, visceral, cowboy, spiritual film, and it was unique at the time. Had a really strong cult following, and that was the blend that I was trying to put together in a way that would allow more people to try and travel with me.
To promote the album The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Gabriel devised an elaborate tour featuring numerous set pieces and costume changes. Tensions would rise between the band members as a result.
Gabriel kind of reaches his creative peak with Genesis, with The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which is a very ambitious concept album about a Puerto Rican boy called Raul in this kind of mythic, fantastical version of New York, trying to find his identity.
Top of the stairs, there's hundreds of people running around to all the doors, trying to find themselves an audience. Their productions need applause. The rich man stands in front of me, the poor man behind my back. They believe they can control the game, but the juggler holds another bag. I need someone to believe in, someone to trust. I need someone to believe in, someone to trust. I'd rather trust a countryman than a town man. Judge by his eyes, take a look at the game. You smile to his eyes, survival to his heart. I'd rather trust a man who works with his hands. He loves the nuance, you know he understands. Don't believe in me when you're out in the field, but down here I'm so alone. In everything that I need, every single door that I've walked through brings me back in with him. I've got to find my own way. The priest and the magician singing all the chants that they have ever heard, and they're all calling out of my name, even academics searching printed words. My father to the left of me, my mother to the right, like everyone else they're pointing, but nowhere feels quite right. And I need someone to believe in.
And I'm not. I mean, I have to be honest, and I say that I think the actual story is the weakest thing about the album. I mean, I don't think the story is really very gripping. Some of the individual lyrics are wonderful, I think, but the totality just doesn't move me. It doesn't do anything for me, really. It reads a bit like a sort of Kurt Vonnegut novel or something, you know, without perhaps quite as good imagery. And I just that's always stays with me, really. It doesn't satisfy me in the way that some of the other albums do. I mean, the Supper's Ready concept was a much simpler thing, you know, good and evil, you know, but that worked great, I think. But this one, not so well.
And the rain lies down on Broadway. It was a strange period, actually. I mean, the Lamb kind of started for me. I can remember driving into Headley Grange. I had Andy, my first wife, with me, and I had Jolie with me. And there was this kind of, it was a bit like going into a Dickens novel, you know, it was like this, windows broken and rats everywhere. There were rats everywhere. Bad Company had used it, and Zeppelin had used it, and they'd recorded the When the Levee Breaks album there. But no one had cleaned up. It was really, I mean, this poor woman that owned the house, I don't think she knew what she was letting herself in for. But literally there were rats everywhere. So you'd walk in and you'd be walking down the corridor and 2 or 3 rats would walk past you. They wouldn't scurry away. They just walk past you and stop and look at you. Say, well, yeah, got a problem? You know. And then in the back garden, there was these vines, you know, up the back wall, and you'd see this constant scurry of activity. And I was bringing a daughter into this, you know, where we were going to stay the night. I mean, at night when you went to bed, you could hear the scurrying around it. I mean, the place never slept. So, first of all, we had to clear up, but we never got rid of the rats. I mean, they were always there. And it was kind of weird time.
I remember talking to Robert Plant about this. They worked in the same place. Zepp had worked at Headley Grange. And he said, you know, I'm convinced that place was haunted. I said, me too. I heard the sounds at night. I couldn't get off to sleep. That place was weird.
They were composing The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, the climax of the band's progression from art rock to prog rock. Though it's now regarded as a classic, the press had grown wary of concept albums. The Lamb caught the backlash even from within the band itself.
Some of the costumes, I think, because there's Slipper Man, who is supposed to be sort of nastily contorted by sort of, you know, for all sorts of reasons. There's sort of great growths all over it and everything like that. It looked great, you know, but the music was starting to become secondary, and I think that we realised we'd gone too far at that point, you know.
Yeah, the Slipper Man was in some respects, the last straw.
Songs I love you without you going to I got sunshine in my stomach, like I've just rocked my baby to sleep. I got sunshine
in my stomach, but I can't keep me from creeping. Sleep, sleep, deep in the deep.
I think when we started writing, and we seemed to have quite a lot of ideas on the Lamb, we thought it would be the idea of making it a double album concept would be adventurous and would be quite a nice thing to try and do, you know. We had no idea what the concept was going to be or anything, but we felt that the audience our audience would be able to take it, you know. And so we found it quite an exciting idea of things to do. And then obviously we had to set about and think about what was the concept going to be about. And I think at this point, Peter sort of had an idea, and he seemed quite keen to do all the lyrics, which was something which we'd never done before. The lyrics have been very much split throughout the group prior to this time. And we weren't really in favour of this, you know. I mean, to be honest, I think the rest of us, because it felt that it would give the album a sort of one-dimensional quality. And I think lyrically, I mean, for me, it does have that for that reason. And but anyhow, I think, you know, perhaps the relationships in the group was getting a little bit more, you know, wasn't quite as easy as it once had been. Probably because Peter was being thrust out as the star in a way. You know, media would only concentrate on Peter really, which was strange in a group that was sort of as democratic as we were in a way. You know, in the way everything came with music and everything was done. So that was a little bit difficult for us, I think. And obviously during the making of, while we were actually writing this album, Peter actually got an offer to do this film script for William Friedkin, and he decided he was going to do it and went off. And that was in the middle of the writing.
So we took over the living room to write, and there was another room with a piano, which I guess during the first few weeks of this, there must have been discussions, which I was there for, but I don't remember much, about who wrote the lyrics. You know, it was one story, okay. One story, one lyric writer, which I guess in theory is the way to go, but... So what I remember mostly about the Lamb was the four of us in the big room, jamming and writing and recording on my Nakamichi, everything. And in the other room, Peter writing lyrics to the things that were already there. Which means that, I mean, obviously we did play some stuff all together, but it was like him and us, it seemed. You know, my shutter went off at those moments, that's what I remember.
Grows richer. He knows he must be near. He finds a long passageway lit by chandelier.
To try and keep everybody happy, you know, there would be parts of it where, you know, we'd be discussing lyrics and throwing some of the words around for different bits. And so the Lamia, which was so Tony's musical piece, or supernatural anaesthetist, was Steve had brought in. So then, you know, they would discuss some of the lyrical stuff with me because they'd sort of got the writer's ticket. But, you know, I was pretty anal about hanging on to some lyrical flow through and you know, being able to put a stamp on it. I really wanted a sort of tougher edge to this record than we'd had previously. And I didn't think there was anyone else in the band that was going to deliver that.
Struck by beauty, gripped in fright. 3 vermilion snakes of female face, the smallest motion filled with grace.
As it grows richer, he knows he must be near. He finds a long passageway lit by chandelier. Each step he takes, the perfumes change from familiar fragrance to flavor strange. Magnificent chamber meets his eye. Rose water pool is shrouded by fine mist, stepping in the moist silence with a warm breeze he's gently kissed. Thinking he is quite alone, he enters the room as if it were his own, but ripples on the sweeping water reveals some company unthought. Leo stands astonished, doubting his sight, struck by beauty, gripped in fright. 3 vermilion snakes are moving with the smallest motion, filled with grace. Muted melodies fill the echoing hall, but there is no sign of morning in the silence hall. Welcome, we are the land of autumn. We are moving all our wood, bringing cool. Resting for this testing, digesting every word the experts say. Arrived to the sun, without you I would fall. Counting down time, hoping it goes like a plan, 'cause I understand it. I'll find the high spots, because morning night, still counting out time. I got the finger on the button, don't say nothing, just lie there still, and I get to turn on just fine. You're right in this room, I know, without you I would fall. Counting out time, I got unexpected distress for my mistress. Get the money back from the bookstore right away. Arrived in the school, I question you, without you I would fall. Without you I would fall. Without you try to find themselves an audience, and the land lies down on Broadway. Early morning Manhattan, ocean winds blow up the land.
There's all this big time stuff happening with sort of long tours being planned way in the future. And I just felt I was getting to be part of a machine, and I also felt I was becoming a sort of stereotype, sort of rock star, or falling into wanting that ego gratification. And I didn't like myself, I didn't like the situation then, and I didn't feel free.
It wasn't just Gabriel's fellow musicians who were frustrated. He was realising that Genesis could not continue to function as the only vehicle for his ideas.
I had been contacted by William Friedkin, who'd just done The Exorcist, which was a hot film at that time, and really well-made film. And he had great ideas for sort of revolutionising Hollywood and bringing in whole new teams of people who'd never worked in film before. And he wanted me in to do to work on ideas, story ideas and visual ideas. And for me, that was really quite exciting. I mean, still to this day, something that I enjoy doing.
And of course, we dug our heels in and said, no, you either do that or you do this. Stupid, really. But we were too young and it was too early for people to have too many outside projects.
It was not just personal projects, but personal life that made Peter want to withdraw from the band he'd helped to found as a schoolboy.
It was the time of the birth of my first child, and there was a really rough birth, and the hospital didn't think she was going to make it, and she spent first month in an incubator. Now, to me, there was no question of priorities, living being and a record, and we were in the middle of making Lamb Lies Down, so I was spending a lot of time at the hospital, and I think well, Phil had a kid, but the others really weren't appreciative of all that family side of things, which they now are, and their lack of openness and of understanding, I think, of that situation for me was a deciding factor as well. We had our first child, Jill, who was married to at the time. It was, as it is for anyone really, it's suddenly the most important thing in your life by a long way. And we had a disastrous birth. We were all set for sort of natural birth, putting her on the breast. She had an infection which was given to her from an epidural needle, which wasn't clean. So she had a fever. Jill had the fever. Cord round her neck. Lungs full of gunk. Everything was going wrong. And we didn't think she was going to survive. They put her in an incubator. Carried her away like a piece of chicken carcass wrapped up in silver paper. And they actually wouldn't let my wife see her because they thought it would be cruel for her to bond with the baby who wasn't going to make it through. Chances were so low. I mean, they wouldn't do that nowadays, but they thought they were being kind. That was then the center of everything, and the band, of course, were recording instead of somewhere reasonably close to London, where we were in St Mary's, Paddington, out in Wales, and I was making these sort of long pilgrimages beforehand, and then I would be based here, and then whenever things looked better, I'd try and zoom back to Wales for the recording. So this was something that the band, I think, would accept now, that they were not very understanding, and I just lost it in lots of ways because I felt, this is so obviously more important than an album or anything else. This is life and death, and it's the center of my family. That's where I need to be. And there was a lot of resentment about that. So I think the seeds for the beginning of the end were sown at that point.
It was very difficult. My marriage was breaking up. It looked as if, we only had half a singer. The level of commitment to the band seemed shaky at that point. So for me, it cast a pall on proceedings. And although I think it's a very inventive album, and it's got great moments on it, I still feel there was this sense of claustrophobia that accompanied it for me. The idea that we were still trying to employ the philosophy of everyone going away together and living together cheek by jowl, you know, but there were families, there were children. It really wasn't a healthy kind of environment for everybody.
I think I started to have some frustration of sort of not being part of the keyboard side of things, you know, and you know, I have very strong ideas on how things should sound and how you mix things together, and so I think there may have been some frustrations in that department. One of the several reasons why I left was because that I didn't feel able to control, or that I was in charge of my life, that, you know, I could just look on the calendar and see exactly where I was going to be 18 months from today, and I never liked that feeling.
I have to say that there's been sort of little rumours on and off throughout the years that because of my apparent, you know, unhappiness at Pete's visuals, that I was either an instigator of him leaving, pleased that he left so I could sing, you know. None of that is true, you know. I love Peter to this day as if he, you know, we've always been close. I played on his album, I played for him as his drummer for free because he couldn't afford a band at one point, you know. We did gigs when he was routining the third album. I love the guy, you know. I mean, went to his wedding and you came to mine. I mean, we all get on great, but I've always felt very, very close to Pete. And I was very sad when he left, but we had to get on with it. And I didn't want to be the singer at all because I was the drummer. And by that point, I was a very good drummer. So why would I want to sing? We couldn't find anybody else. So if we couldn't find anybody else, that was the end of it. Or have someone that didn't really make the grade, you know. So bit by bit, I ended up doing the singing. And but you know, people always take the short story. You know, they take the shortest route, and they think Phil's the singer. He's had to go at Pete. He wanted him out.
It's bullshit. Phil, yeah, some people think, yeah, that Phil was sort of chomping at the bit, waiting to get rid of me, and it wasn't like that at all. I think he loved being a drummer, and although I think was beginning to write songs and enjoy being a singer, for quite some time the band didn't consider him as the singer, and I don't think he really considered himself as the singer for Genesis. So that evolved slowly. It was clear to me that he could have a big career on his own, and I remember, you know, saying that to him and to the rest of the band at the time, and because, as I said, we would often be there hammering out our own things, which were sounding quite different from what the band was doing. Yeah, it wasn't. I never had the feeling that the band wanted to get rid of me at any time, and I think because we started the tour for the Lamb, and that, you know, got great reactions, people were hoping that, you know, things would all heal, and then we got to the Midwest of America, and it just got too much for me, and I just knew that I was drowning and had to head up for air. They then sort of persuaded me to stay on and finish doing a tour, which would take us till middle of 75, and I guess it was somewhere around summer, autumn 74 then when I decided to quit. And that was very hard.
You know, I think the band had just got too many sort of creative personalities in it, and somebody had to go, really. And Peter was the only one who could go, because the only one who really had an alternative career to go to.
It was definitely the right thing for me to have done. And, you know, clearly it was good for them, because it sort of brought Phil out front and gave everyone a bit more space, I think. So, you know, I always look upon that time as a healthy part of growing up.
along with his punchline feeling. Once flats are also the band plays. In the moon, two wings of sunlight. There's a small peach blossom beat around. Carol Chessman sniffs the air and leaves the parade. He knows, innocent, you can battle or you made. If I was you and Bruce Wayne shoes, smiling, drowning in a liquid, fountain, a storm conviction, and his dirty shoes, fishing, game. We are this game. He's self-controlled, I'm his Always one and the same breeze.
Kinds of things come back when you say Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. We did about 98 shows with it all the way across the world. We went to America before the double album had come out. Suicide, we played the whole thing to an audience of people who thought, what the hell's going on? Because Peter was dressing up in extraordinary costumes at this point.
I cringe at certain places now when I look back at it. Again, atmospheres were caught in some of the tracks.
Something's changed, that's not your face. It's mine.
We had these sort of slides behind us. We had three, a triple screen system of slides, which are about 1,000 slides, and they changed throughout the show. We did about 100 shows of Lamb Lies Down, and I would say it probably only all worked. Well, it never all worked, actually. It came close to all working on about 4 or 5 occasions, and they were great. Unfortunately, every other night there was always something wrong.
At the end of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, it used to have a little flash, and Peter used to appear one side of the stage, because the whole thing's about a split personality going. So Peter was on one side, and the dummy, dressed the same as Peter, was the other side. And so there was this flash, and the strobe would start, and you weren't quite sure which one was real, Anyway, it was the first gig in Europe, and the mixture of flash powder per ratio to explosion was the first time this guy had done it. And he got too much bang and not enough flash. And the most deafening explosion. We just stopped playing. We just looked around at each other, and the audience was stunned. This guy poked his head around the curtain and said, "Sorry!" And I shouted out, "You're fired!"
End of that tour, suddenly the lights go up and there's Peter on one stage singing, and you pan to the other side of the stage and there's a completely naked, big fat roadie.
Jeff Banks, in effect.
He's still with us now.
I think it kind of culminated, though, for me personally, in the Slipperman costume, though, because at that point, I was very much, a musician in this band, and and this was starting to piss me off a bit, because Peter wasn't able to get a microphone close enough to his mouth half the time in that costume to actually do what he was supposed to be doing, which was singing,
He finds a long passageway.
It was a bit strange to be carrying on doing gigs knowing the singer was leaving. I must admit, it was a bit strange. Must have been strange.
His last gig with the band was in Besançon, in France, and it was supposed to be Toulouse, but because of lack of interest, there was no tickets had been sold, so the concert was cancelled. And we were backstage at the dressing room in Toulouse, in Besançon, and someone said, "We're not playing tomorrow night, so this is the last night." And it was terribly anticlimactic, because we all built up to this last night with Peter, that it was going to be a great show, and then suddenly this was going to be the last night, and we weren't prepared for it. So he played the last post on the oboe, and we went on stage and did the Lamb. Extraordinary, really.
And the light dies down, down on
Gabriel's successful solo career has been a unique musical exploration. Influenced by American soul and the diverse sounds of African and Latin music, he has become an influential figure in the spread of world sounds. In 1986, he set up Real World Studios, which houses WOMAD, the world of music, arts and dance. Gabriel did rejoin Genesis on one occasion at a special fundraising show for WOMAD at Milton Keynes. In 1982, Gabriel had helped organise the first WOMAD festival at Shepton Mallet with musicians and dancers from 25 countries. It was a critical and artistic success, but a financial disaster.
It looked as if we were going to go bankrupt. There was a lot of pressure. I had threats against my life, and people, really nasty phone calls to the family, and it was just a horrible experience. Tony and the band then really proposed this thing to bail me out, so it was a very generous thing.
A flower? You go down to below fall to look for butterflies, butterflies. Open your eyes. It's full of surprise. Everyone rises and puts in the rocks.